which is great. I'll go ahead and introduce Ben Guthrie. Mr. Guthrie was the previous administrator for the Child and Adult Care Food Program and for summer feeding. He retired and has come back to help us part-time, and we're excited to have him. And we have Miss Lakeisha Love. She's an education specialist too. That name probably sounds familiar to some of you. Lakeisha has been working in the program previously and has been a guiding light for us. Miss Tiffany Bedgood is not with us today, but she is the additional education specialist for the SUN program. So keep her name in mind. You'll probably hear her voice and see her face in the future with our programs. So we're going to go ahead and get started. One of the things that we want to do today is to give you, again, some very basic information about operating the summer food service program. It is a program designed to provide meals for children during the summer months when school's not in session. And we know that a lot of our students depend on free or reduced price meals during the school year when they're at NSLP sponsored schools, National School Lunch and School Breakfast schools. And during the summer, sometimes there's a disconnect. So the summer feeding program was implemented to be able to fill the gap for those students during those summer months. We also know that many of you are passionate about feeding children and making sure that they have the resources they need during the summer to continue to learn and to grow. I just want to caution you, this program is a very good program for children and households in need, but it is a highly regulated program. So there may be a better opportunity for you to participate as a site rather than a sponsor. And Mr. Guthrie will go over that for you. So that's all I have in terms of introduction. So I'm going to turn it over to Ben Guthrie. And Ben, we're only seeing half of your face on the screen. Okay, there you go. All right, thank you. So Ben is going to go over some of the sponsor eligibility requirements. And if you will keep an eye out on your chat, we'll be placing some documents and links in the chat as we go through.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. Welcome, everyone. It's good to be back into the summer feeding program. The summer feeding program, what we're here today to talk about, can be administered basically 4 different ways. There's 4 different types of ways you can participate in the summer food service program. One being a state agency, which is what we are. The second option is being a sponsoring organization, which is what y'all are here today to learn more about, because each one of y'all have expressed interest in becoming a sponsoring organization. And like Ms. Hunter said before, if you find out that a sponsoring organization is not your cup of tea, you can participate in the summer food service program as a site. And then last but not least, you can participate in the summer feeding program as a vendor, which means that you are actually preparing meals and selling them to an organization, which we have a few people that do that. But either way, today we're talking about sponsor eligibility. So make sure that you clearly understand what's required to become a sponsor. First thing that you have to do, there's like 5 things in order to be a sponsor. First, you have to be a public or private nonprofit school food authority. That's a local school system. Uh, if you don't qualify that way, you can be a public or private nonprofit college or university that is presently or currently participating in the National Youth Sports Program. That's NYSP. The third way is you can be a public or private nonprofit uh, residential summer camp. We have summer camps that participate in this program during the summer months. And then you can also be a unit of a local, municipal, county, or tribal or state government, or any other type of nonprofit organization. So those are the eligible requirements in order to participate as a sponsor. Now, the role of a sponsor must basically, you're going to be taking full responsibility of the summer feeding program. You'll be responsible for all aspects of the program. You'll be required to attend state agency training. You'll be required to locate and recruit eligible sites. You'll be required to hire, train, and supervise staff and volunteers. You'll arrange for meals to be prepared or delivered. You'll prepare claims for reimbursement, and you will comply with all civil rights requirements. Sponsors may operate during the summer months when school is not in session or during unanticipated school closures, meaning any period which would be between October and April, or any time of the year in an area with a continuous school calendar, or during which children are not in school due to an emergency or unexpected incident that disrupts school meal programs. Sponsors may operate the summer food service program at one or more sites, and they assume responsibility for all administration of the summer food service program. So, with that in mind, the role of a sponsor, you're taking uh, all the responsibility of the program, and so you'll have to sign an agreement with the state agency, and you'll be responsible for administering the program within the rules and regulations defined by USDA and the state of Alabama. And of course, you'll be held financially responsible for all aspects of the program. If you find that a sponsor is not kind of what your organization is set up to be, you can participate in the program as a site, which means that you'll need to locate uh, a sponsor, an organization that's already established, and come in under them as a site. And with that in mind, basically your responsibilities there, um, organizations that do not have the financial or administrative capability to manage the program usually go this route. And they can participate in the summer food service program by hosting a site. By hosting a site, an organization is responsible for supervising a meal service for children, uh, along with any recreational and enrichment programs that they offer at the site. Your requirements there would be to attend sponsored training, supervise activities at the meal service, distribute meals by following the summer food service program guidelines, keep daily records of meals served, store food properly, and keep the site clean and sanitary. So, with that in mind, that's what you'll have to make a decision if you want to come in this program as a sponsor or a site. If you're having difficulty in finding a sponsor, the state agency can help you out there. Now, let's talk a little bit about sites. When you're talking about sites, we have what we call our open sites, and open sites are served to children in low-income areas. Any child who comes into the site may receive a program meal. Then we have what we call our restricted open sites or meal sites in low income areas that may limit attendance to address space, security, safety, or control issues. We also have the closed enrolled sites that serve groups of low income children who sign up to receive the program meals. And then we have our day camps or residential camps that operate during the summer, and they can also be participating in the program. We also have migrant sites where the majority of the children receiving meals are from families of migrant workers. And then also we have the National Youth School Sports Program that serves meals to children enrolled in program administered by the National Collegiate Athletic Association. So with that in mind, those are the different types of sites that we operate. And it's very important to remember that the majority of the sites that most of our sponsoring organizations operate are open sites. And our open sites are sites that provide meals to children, all children in an area where in which the poor economic conditions exist on a first come, first served basis. The sponsor must publicize to the community that meal services are available and ensure that the meal service is accessible to all children requesting a meal at the site. Each child may receive up to 2 reimbursable meals per day. An open site must be located in a school attendance area where 50% or more of the children residing in the area are eligible for free and reduced price meals. The percentage must be documented by data provided by public or nonprofit school officials. The next one we have is the restricted site that I mentioned earlier. It basically has the same criteria as an open site, but the sponsor may limit attendance to address concerns about space, security, and safety and control. In other words, you can open your site to a limited number of participants, but it has the same criteria as far as eligibility as the open site. Then you also have the closed enrolled site, which 50% or more of the children enrolled at the site are eligible for free and reduced price meals. So you will have to collect that data to make sure that's probable. And of course, your closed enrolled sites are only the children that can only participate at that site are those that are enrolled in the program. And of course, you have your day camps that you can do that also if you're a camp such as a Boy Scouts or YMCA. And then you have your migrant sites, which we have a little of those that pop up usually in your more agriculture areas during the summertime. Then you have your national youth sports program, and those are the sites that basically operate, out of a college. So with that being said, that pretty much covers the sites and the sponsor eligibility. And if you ever have any questions or anything whatsoever, feel free to contact us, and we'll be able to elaborate more on anything, any eligibility requirements, whether it's a sponsor or a site. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Loria.
Okay, thank you, Ben. So that's a lot to think about. Just keep in mind that right now, as you're starting to make plans for your program, you need to be determining what areas that you plan to operate. Again, this is this is a program designed to serve low-income populations. One of the things that Mr. Guthrie mentioned about the site eligibility, all of it is based on the economic need in the community. So if you decide to have an open site, make sure, and in fact, part of that application process, we will have to certify that those sites are located in areas of economic need. Once you've decided what type of site you plan to operate, whether it's open restricted, closed enrolled, most people don't have campsites in the true sense of the word campsites. We sort of use the word camp loosely because when kids are out during the summer and mom and dad want to put them in an enrichment activity of some sort, they will often attach the word camp to it, but that doesn't necessarily sync with the definition in our program. But once you start to make those decisions about where you want to place a site, you can, as a sponsoring organization, sponsor what we call affiliated sites or unaffiliated sites. The affiliated sites are the ones which would fall under your legal authority or responsibility. An unaffiliated site would not fall under your responsibility. So, for example, school systems can sponsor the summer feeding program. A school within that district would be considered an affiliated site. But if they wanted to sponsor the Boys and Girls Club down the street as a site, that would be an unaffiliated site. So you'll have to make that distinction. And if it is an unaffiliated site, there is an agreement, a permanent agreement that has to be signed and executed between the unaffiliated site and you as the sponsoring organization. Something else to consider is where is that site going to be located? You cannot have a rural non-congregate site operating near a congregate site. A rural non-congregate site simply means It's a site located in an area that's been designated as rural, and the students do not have to consume that meal on site. They can take it home. So if you have a rural non-congregate site, you cannot be near a site where students can come and pick up, can go to a location and eat a meal on site. And the reason for that is there's some cross-pollination between those two sites if they're in proximity to each other. And one of the very, very important parts of this program is that in terms of maintaining the integrity of the program is to make sure that one child receives one meal per meal service per day of meal per day. So you would not want to set up a site near another operating site where I can go in and get a meal from your site at 11 o'clock and then walk across the street and get another lunch meal at 12:30. Please consider partnering with other organizations. Both Mr. Guthrie and I mentioned previously, not all organizations interested in sponsoring the summer feeding program are necessarily a good fit for sponsorship. There may be some existing organizations in your area who would be willing to take your location on as a site. And that's vice versa as well. There could be some organizations in your area that doesn't have the financial capability or the administrative capability, and they come to you and say, will you sponsor us as a site? So it's just a matter of having that network between organizations who are targeting the same groups of people. As a state agency, we limit the new sponsors to 5 sites. So as a new sponsoring organization, the maximum you will be able to sponsor that first year is 5 sites, and that's basically for you and for us. As I mentioned earlier, this is a highly regulated program. Your heart might be in the right place, and I don't doubt that for a minute, but the program is really difficult to operate, and the application process is a voluminous process in and of itself. The pre-approval process is also quite detailed and involved. So you would have to do pre-approval visits for the sites that you choose to sponsor, and we would have to come out and do pre-approval visits. Something else to keep in mind about site selections is if you have a congregate site where the students are eating at the location, you need to make sure you have running water, operating toilets, a place for them to wash their hands, some sort of shelter for them. If you don't have that and we come out and do a pre-approval visit, that's probably going to be a deal breaker for the congregate feeding. If it's a non-congregate site and the students are just coming and picking up a meal and going home, then you don't have to have the running water and that requirement. And lastly, think about how many children you plan to serve. Is the site accommodating for the number of children you plan to serve? What meals are you planning to provide to those children? Is it safe? So there's a lot to consider when you're making your site selection. Just be very, very specific about what you want, the clients you're wanting to serve, the activities that are going on, the location. Does the location meet the requirements for congregate meal service or non-congregate meal service? So that's all I have for site selection. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Lakeisha to talk about staffing needs.
Good afternoon. Let's go over some of your staffing needs that are required. Some of the staffing positions consist, of course, of director, site supervisor, food service staff, as well as monitors, if you have any volunteers, and we'll go over a few of those information. As director, you have several different responsibilities. Of course, you must attend the state agency training. You will provide the overall management and supervision of the SFSP program. You're allowed to select sites and you submit applications and agreements. You are the corresponding person between that particular summer food service and the state agency. You're to hire and train and supervise your staff, as well as arrange food preparation and delivery. You are to ensure that all monitoring requirements are met as well and adjust any meal orders. as well as submit claims every single month, and be in compliance when it comes to civil rights and handle all agreements. Now, excuse me, also your food service staff. Your food service staff will really depend upon the number of meals you plan on serving. The more meals you plan on serving, of course, the higher number of actual food staff you should have. So if you're serving, let's say, between 1 to 50 meals, you may only need 1 or to 2 full-time employees, depending upon the number of hours and labor. You'll also need a site supervisor. That will be someone who's on staff to supervise that particular site. As Ms. Hunter stated, as a new potential sponsor, if you're on board with the program, you will be allowed to actually have 5 sites. So you should have a site supervisor for each one of those sites. A monitor is also needed. The purpose of the monitor is to monitor the program, and it's required for regulations to monitor the program beginning of the week as far as to make sure everything is going successfully and the program is running efficiently. Site management will depend upon the actual site supervisor and what type of site you're serving. If you're doing a non-congregate site, you're going to need a site supervisor on hand to maybe handle the meal counting as well as making sure that we're giving out reimbursable meals. If you're doing a congregate setting, you're normally going to have someone there to do your meal counting as well. All of this comes into play when your staffing needs. So when you're considering your sites, not only look at the projection of children that you may be able to serve as far as number and the number of sufficient staff that's needed to actually serve those students. I'm going to hand it back over to Mr. Ben Guthrie. Well, while Mr. Ben is working on his technical difficulties, I'm going to go ahead and talk about self-prep meals and vended meals to go ahead and give him time to go ahead and get back on the program. There's a difference between self-prep meals and vended meals. Self-prep meals are meals that are actually created and prepared on site. Vended meals are actually meals that are coming from a school food authority or a food service management contract. Those are meals that are actually prepared off-site and delivered to the other site. A self-prep meal will happen at the site regardless if it's congregate or non-congregate. If it's a vended meal, therefore a contract needs to be in place. That can be anywhere from a food service management contract or it could have to have an MOU. Now, if you are self-prep, there are certain permits that you need to operate. If you're a self-prep kitchen, you will need a food permit as well as a health inspection score. If you are vended, particular vended meal site. Therefore, you will not need a health inspection score. And remember, health inspection scores, you have to contact your local health department and they will come out and actually inspect your facility. And of course, the difference between the food service management contract and MOU. A food service management contract is a contract between the sponsor and a food service management company, and the sponsor maintains all financial and administrative capabilities over that program. An MOU is a memorandum of an understanding, which is an agreement between that particular sponsor and normally a school food authority, where they're actually preparing the meals for you at a particular rate and delivering it to you. You're claiming those meals, but you are reimbursing the school food authority for the price of those meals. I'm going to pass back over to Mr. Ben Guthrie.
Okay, thank you. One thing that we look very closely at on all sponsors who are interested in participating in the summer food service program is the financial viability of the organization which they're part of. What we want what we like to ask that you demonstrate to us that your organization is financially capable of administering a program. And one of the things is required is that if you're a private nonprofit agency, will ask you to submit 3 months of bank statements to demonstrate that you have financial resources available to participate in the program. If you're a larger organization like a governmental agency, we will ask that you submit your single audit, your last recent audit that you have. And that's one thing that we do and we look at, and it does make a determination whether we uh, decide to let you participate as an organization. We want to make sure that you have the means available to support any cost that's incurred by your organization in the event that the reimbursement that you're eligible for cannot pay for it. So, with that being said, financial viability is something very important, and it's want you to know that up front that we will be asking to look at your financial records prior to being approved. And that's it on that part. Lori, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Lakeisha. So just to summarize, we hope today to again give you just a general overview of the program. This virtual meeting is not intended to dig deep into the weeds of the program. We've done that with the training modules. Lakeisha, may I ask you to put the link to Break for a Plate in the chat, please? If you have not been to Break for a Plate to review the training modules, you'll need to complete all modules as it relates to the summer feeding program. There will be an assessment at the end of those presentations, and you'll have to pass the assessment with 70% or more proficiency. So, first steps, determine if you're eligible to participate. And Mr. Guthrie went over those requirements. If you're a private nonprofit organization, you're going to have to provide us documentation of your tax status, your income tax exempt tax status, excuse me. And also placed in the chat are a list of things that we are going to need from all new sponsors. So before we get to the point of opening up the online application to you, we're going to need that financial viability documents, the bank statements, or that single audit, or some sort of financial statement, a balance sheet, and we've put that in the chat. In addition, we'll need your FEIN, your federal employment number. There is also in our chat a very small but informative video you can click on, and it discusses what the FEIN is and how to go about making application for that. The state of Alabama has a STARS vendor number application that you have to complete, and that is how you would get reimbursed through our office. That needs to be requested, or that application needs to be made, and we need documentation of that as part of your pre-screening documents. You need a unique entity identifier. There's also a link in the chat with a informative video regarding that. Your E-Verify MOU, a copy of your tax exempt documentation, statement of authority, and we will have to send that one to you, the statement of authority. That is a document that we have created here from the state agency. And we also need a list of the site names, the site addresses, and the name of the person who is going to be overseeing that site. The reason we need that information, because when your application comes through, we have to check the organization's names, the site names, and the representatives involved in the program, their names against a national disqualified list. So if you have someone on your staff who's going to be administering the program, who has been placed on the national disqualified list, that's a deal breaker. Or if you have let's say, a good example, daycare center that did not operate the child and adult care food program, which is one of our federal programs, did not operate that program efficiently, and that person or that organization was removed or terminated from our program and appears on the disqualified list, then you cannot sponsor that site. So therein lies the reason we need that information regarding the site name, the address, and the people who are going to be responsible for supervising or managing those sites. So if you're interested in applying to become a sponsor, please make sure you start collecting these pieces of information. Also in the chat, I see that Lakeisha just put in the Break for a Plate link, so you can go in and review those training modules. And there's also a link to the Alabama Attorney General Charitable Organization registration page. And there is a lot of really good information on there about nonprofit organizations. I think I covered everything in the chat. If you guys have any questions of us, please go ahead and raise your hand. We'll turn your microphone on. I think that's how this works. Or you can put it in the chat. Did I leave out anything else, guys, that we mentioned that we would talk about today?
No, ma'am. Miss Lori, we do have a message about where's the assessment. The assessment is located in the last training. All sponsors and new potential sponsors are required to review the trainings to the end. The assessment is located in the staff duties PowerPoint, and it is a slide that has a QR code as well as the link for potential sponsors to complete the assessment.
Hey, any more questions? Okay. If there are no more questions, then
We do have a
are we,
question, Miss Lori. I'm sorry, I'm reading through the chat. Who do we send the pre-screening information to? The all pre-screening information, I believe, is sent to our email address of sfsp at alsde.edu. I will place that in the chat as well. And also another question from Felicia. Hello, for the financial viability, will we need to submit 3 months bank statements and the bullets, or just one of the ones listed below? Mr. Ben, I believe you handled that.
what kind of organization is it?
Yeah, that's are we talking about a nonprofit organization? If it is a nonprofit, then you would need to submit the 3-month bank statements, unless you have a recent audit conducted on your business. If you're a larger organization, then chances are you'll need to submit your most recent audit conducted on your organization.
It is a private nonprofit, Mr. Ben.
Okay, then I would suggest to go with the 3 monthly bank statements. And if you do have an audit, you can submit that too. That's just extra ammunition you could submit to help us make a determination.
There was something I forgot to mention that I think is worthy. This program is a reimbursement program, but that doesn't mean that you'll be reimbursed for all of your cost. It's based on the number of meals you serve. So if you served 100 meals and the reimbursement is $1, you're going to get $100 back from us. You might have incurred $200 in expenses, but the maximum you'll be able to get back in reimbursement will be the number of meals served time the rate of reimbursement. And that rate is determined by USDA annually. So keep that in mind, that there is a very good chance that you might not recover all of your costs from operating this program. Okay. No other questions? So if you have any other questions that you have for us, you
One
can
moment,
send it
Miss
to.
Gloria. I'm sorry to
Okay.
interrupt. A chat just came through. I do apologize.
No problem.
Would someone from the team be able to help us determine if being a sponsor or a site, as well as determining the site type? If so, what is the best way to contact you for that?
So I would say our SFSP at alsde.edu email. I think that's the best way because sometimes it really takes all of us roundtable talking it out loud together because there's so many different possibilities.
All right, we have another question. What was the rate per meal last year for SFSP?
I will have to look that up.
The rate for last year.
Got it?
Yes, ma'am. And remember, the rates are based upon whether or not you're designated as rural or non-rural or self-prep or vending. If you are rural and self-prep for breakfast, the reimbursement was $2.97. For lunch, it was $5.21. Um, let's see, if you are any of the others as far as vended or non-rural, breakfast was $2.92 and lunch was $5.13. If I'm reading this correctly. Those are the
Mhm.
operating rates. I may not be reading it correctly. I'm sorry.
You
But
did the combined rates,
yes,
operating
ma'am.
and
Thank you.
administrative.
All right. Also, we have another question. So just to clarify, we need to submit all pre-screened documents first and complete the assessment. Once those things are done, we will be told if we qualify, and if so, then we will have the access to online application to link.
That is correct. And we do, again, there is a pre-approval visit included in that process as well. Um, so that also leads me to another statement. Once we start on the application process journey, you will not be able to claim any meals for reimbursement until you get notification from us that your application has been approved. So you're perfectly within your right to go ahead and serve meals before you get approval from us, but just know those meals you serve prior to approval from our department will not be reimbursed. So you will be incurring the full expense of those meals. Only the meals that are served after you get approval from the Department of Education will be reimbursable. How many of you have either a vendor in mind or are doing self-prep? And I guess we could do a raise of hands. I don't know. How does this work, Keisha?
Raise your hand if you plan on operating as self-prep. We have one, two. Right now, it looks like it's just two. Hold on. Let
Okay.
me do a full screen to make sure. Yes, ma'am, just two. If you plan on operating through a vendor, please raise your hand. One, two. We have two, Miss Gloria. How many do we have this? Not sure. Raise your hand. One. As of right now, just, well, two, three.
Okay. For those who are unsure, That's one of the first things that you need to start researching is where am I going to get meals from? If you are located in an area near a public or private school that's on the National School Lunch or School Breakfast Program, that will be the first place that I would inquire about. Not all schools operate during the summer, so it might not be the first school system or your nearest school system is going to be the one that's interested in providing meals for you. And keep in mind, as Lakeisha mentioned earlier, if you're getting meals from from an organization that's not affiliated with you, for instance, if you decide to go through a school system, they're going to charge you a flat amount for those meals. You are going to be the one with the agreement with the Department of Education. So once you serve a total number of meals, you're reimbursed based on that rate of reimbursement that Lakeisha mentioned. It's a little bit higher this year than it was last year. Once you receive that payment from our department, the school system will bill you for the meals that they've provided to you. And you use that reimbursement and whatever additional sponsor organization funds you have to pay for those meals that were provided to you. If you're self-prep, on the other hand, you'll be purchasing your own food, you have your own labor, your own storage, you need a health permit, an inspection, all of the things that go along with self-prep. Okay, HACCP's plan, everything. So it is either way you go, you will be bearing responsibility for getting meals to children and getting meals to them in a safe and sanitary way. So again, if you don't have a vendor in mind, or if you don't have an option right now for meal service, go ahead and do the research on that. And that's going to determine what your next steps are. If you're going to try to go down the road of being a site and let another sponsor provide your meals, or if you will take the road of being a sponsor and finding someone to provide meals to you. Okay. If there are no other questions, we allot it until 2:30, but I don't want to hold you guys up if you don't have any more questions for us. So I will ask if this was helpful to you. Nobody wants to.
We have a yes, another yes,
Okay.
yes. Seems
Okay,
that's the
good.
consensus. And thank you.
Absolutely. And what we will do, we will have 2 more of these, I believe, one in March and one in April. If we need to have one in May, we will. But the next ones we have will also include the larger group of returning sponsors. But we did want to reach out to you to hopefully provide information to fill in some gaps that you might have concerning the program and to direct you to the right place to get the information you need, specifically now the training information you need, and also these bits of information that we put in the chat so that you can do a little bit of recognizance yourself and figure out if you meet the eligibility requirements for the program. Okay. So with that, if there are no other questions, I'm going to thank you very much for joining us today. And as I mentioned, this is recorded. So if you need a copy of the recording, or if someone you know was not able to join us today, we can make it available to them. All right. Thank you, guys.